It's Super Sunday time. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. What a lineup we have. And it's not just because of the teams who are out there. It's because of the situation the team finds themselves in. Not just one, but several teams. The afternoon game, well, that has plenty of importance, even though it features the men in yellow who are no longer able to progress further in the tournament, but they still have a huge role to play. It's Chennai against Punjab, who have the fate in their own hands, match number 53 out of 56. 54, which we will also talk about later, is going to be Kolkata against Rajasthan. Two of the teams who have a lot to do, but they also have to watch the other games and see what's happening. Well, to chat about all that, let me go to the first of my guests, Joy Bhattacharjya, who's, we've been sitting with calculators. We've been sitting with all sorts of permutations and combinations because, Joy, for a change, it's not just about the cricket. It's about everything else around it.
I'm so glad I have a degree in mathematics. It came in so useful. I always wondered what I'd do with that. And it came in so useful today because it's not just mathematics, it's statistics, it's probabilities, it's run rates. It's a lot of fun watching what's happening out here. But absolutely, this is, how can you imagine such an end to the IPL this year? Everyone had worries, pandemic season, no crowd, what's it going to look like? And you've clearly been delivered possibly one of the finest IPLs we've had the pleasure of seeing. It's been absolutely superb.
We certainly have. And, the one person who shares that with you, Joy, is Rahul Tripathi. So I was just wondering, even though the Kolkata team are in a bit of strife, I think they need to have Rahul Tripathi, who's not produced some runs of late, to be sitting with his laptop because he's got a mathematics degree and trying to tell them what's the ideal net run rate need to work out. And he'll be the one who'll have the points table up on his whiteboard, softboard, blackboard, purple board, whatever it is they have on their team room, Joy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, to be honest with you, it's bad news for them because whatever calculations we do, the news is not good. The news is not good. The kind of thing that Kolkata needs to do to qualify is very, very difficult. So I don't know how they're going to manage it. But the other teams have a much better idea, much better chance of going through from there.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that points table. I think it's time we can actually have a little glance at it. It's not just about the points. We call it a points table, Joy, but it's a full-fledged mathematical table because at this stage of the tournament, it's not MWL or PTS that matters as much as NRR matters, the column on the right. Of course, if you have 18 points like Mumbai, you don't care about that. But it's those little figures at the right that are starting to matter now, and it matters even for Punjab today, Joy.
Absolutely. I think the beauty of it is to explain this very simply. The top team has qualified, the bottom team is out. Okay, those are the only two sure things. In the middle, there are 6 teams vying for 3 positions. Bangalore and Delhi are vying for 2nd place, and the rest are all there for 3rd and 4th. The other 4 teams are all there vying for 3rd and 4th place. And if Bangalore or Delhi, one of them slip, then they also could be vying for that 3rd and 4th place. So what can happen? Mumbai will finish on top. Bangalore, Delhi, one team will win and end up on 16, and they will be the 2nd team on the table. 2 teams will be in the playoffs with 14, obviously, because given the fact that only one team can reach 16 at this point in time, and Bangalore's already on 18. If Hyderabad beat Mumbai, they qualify straight because their run rate is so good that they have no problems at all. Their net run rate is above Delhi, Bangalore as of now, so it doesn't matter. Kolkata, Rajasthan, one of them should win and finish on 14. Will it be enough or not is something that a lot of other results will depend on.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is, Joy, what happened yesterday on Super Saturday, because we mentioned right at the end that Punjab must have thought, we once made a reference to Christmas. I don't know if it's Lori or which other festival they consider the most auspicious up in the north, but they must have felt that it's some gift coming their way because without bowling a ball, they managed to get 2 teams to slip below them in net run rate without them doing anything about it. And that's really helped them as far as this match is concerned.
Absolutely. I think the crucial thing there was not just the fact that Delhi and Bangalore lost, it's the way they lost. Because that means the door has suddenly opened up for Punjab. So far, Punjab was saying, I have to win, and then I need to have results go my way, the other results go my way. Now they're in a situation where they say, I just have to win because whatever happens now between the Bangalore and Delhi matches, one of them will end up with a run rate, will end up on 14 on a run rate below Punjab, provided Punjab win. But that means, again, I mean, there is a mathematical chance of anything else happening. So for Punjab, right now, I mean, leave those 150 run wins aside. They beat Chennai today, they're through. Okay. What happens to Kolkata Rajasthan? Kolkata Rajasthan first have to hope Chennai beats Punjab, so Punjab is out of it. Okay. Then they have to win. One of them have to win and get to that 14 points. And then hope that Mumbai beat Hyderabad. They might still make it if Hyderabad beats Mumbai, but for that, the run rate for the loser in tonight's match has to be much lower. So lots of permutation combinations, lots to hope for. I think the Kolkata Rajasthan scenario is the most complicated. It'll get a bit simpler once the results of the Punjab CSK match are known.
Yes, it certainly will be. But what it shows is, with someone like Chris Gayle playing in that side, is he likes things to be kept pretty simple. He's the kind of person, a bit like Kapil Dev and Eddie Hemmings way back in 1990, 24 runs to avoid the follow-on. What's the best way? Forget the calculators. It's 6 into 4, is it? Okay, that's how I'll get it. Chris Gayle thinks that way. And I suspect, Joy, that the rest of the Punjab team would also think that way. We need to win and get through, throw the calculator into the bin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both Punjab and SRH have now abandoned their calculators. They're not worried about anything else. I think life has been made much simpler for them by the way Delhi and Bangalore were defeated yesterday. And they'll be just cool. They'll say, you know what, just go ahead, win. Tell Big Chris to finish this off for us. And that's what they need to do.
Yes, what it means is that you need to watch the rest of our show as we update the teams for you. But it's a good time to remind everyone who just likes to have a bit of fun on the side in addition to everything that's happening on the field. And that, of course, means your My 11 Circle contest. I play it with great verve and passion, and I know plenty of you out there do. Saurav Ganguly does as well. He likes to play against everybody. And once he puts his team in, it's just a matter of you putting your team in. Captain, vice captain, all gets in there. What about the two other teams we talked about? Today it's Punjab. They need to keep it simple. For Delhi and Bangalore, well, things could have been a little simpler had they not lost by the margins they did yesterday. But all is not lost. It's still simple from a perspective of at least win and go through. But Joy, if they were not to win, then things start getting complicated. So have a look at this one. Win the shootout on the 2nd, which is tomorrow. Qualify as number 2 on the points table. So there's an extra incentive to winning. But if they lose, that can be a problem with Hyderabad knowing fate is in their own hands.
Absolutely. So what we are seeing, therefore, is 4 out of the 6 teams who are going to be playing, fighting for spots. Let's leave Mumbai and this thing aside, Mumbai and Chennai aside. 4 of the 6 teams who are playing have their fate in their own hands. Delhi has their fate in their own hand. Bangalore has their fate in their own hand. Punjab has their fate in their own hand. Hyderabad has their fate. The only people hanging on other people's results are basically Kolkata and Rajasthan. And that's interesting because no matter what happens, I don't think they'll be able to shut their calculators until the match is over, the Hyderabad match is over.
And the irony of that is, if you think back to early in the tournament, you would have started saying, okay, maybe a little erratic, but Kolkata seemed to be doing enough to be in that top 4. Rajasthan was sort of blowing teams away with all the pace of Jofra and the innings from Sanju Samson, and Stokes still to come, and he came and made an impact. But suddenly, both these teams started allowing the fate to go out of their own hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kolkata, firstly, missing Dre Russell, a player of the power of Dre Russell going out of a lineup. I mean, he was the MVP the last year. Let's not forget, you're losing an MVP player. See what is done to Chennai. Losing Raina, what it's done to them. So, losing somebody of the quality of Russell for so long is not easy for any team. And then after that, changing a captain at midstream, no matter how amicably that was settled, there is always a bit of uncertainty in the dressing room. It does cause ripples, whether we like it or not. Players are human. Players feel tension, impacts of what's happening. Players understand uncertainty. So neither of these two things would have helped Kolkata. And I think lastly, they've shuffled their pack, I think that tad bit too often. And nobody looks, except for maybe Shubman Gill, nobody looks set in their positions. Everyone else feels as if they're moving up, down, up, down. They're moving around way bit too much.
Yeah, in case I hadn't mentioned it, given that everything is all topsy-turvy and upside down, not just in the tournament, but with us, we talked about net run rate, which is important. Small matter of the toss, yes. Chennai have won the toss, and it's Punjab who will bat first. So Chennai looking to do what they did early on in the tournament for the first 7 games. Yeah, they're going to be chasing again. Whether that augurs well for the other teams or not, we're not sure. for the moment, let's look at the changes. We thought there could be up to 6 changes, but there aren't. There are just 3. We're not going to see lots of new names thrown in. It looks like, just purely going by the changes, Joy, that they seem serious about trying to win this game. Faf Duplessis, match winner, has come back in. Imran Tahir, match winner, in. And he comes in for Lungisani and Giri. And Shardul Thakur is in. So no messing around.
No, I think this is as close to a best 11 as they have. I mean, the only one you could doubt is whether the Jagdishan would be normally playing under the circumstances. But they're playing Duplessis, Rituraj, Ambati Raidu, Dhoni. This is a lineup which is there to win. They're not here to make up the numbers. They're going to go at it very seriously. And if you see the batting lineup, this is a fairly decent batting team. Other than Imran Tahir and to a certain extent Ngidi, everyone else can bat. What I'd also be interested in is seeing their batting order. Will Curran bat that low? Will Curran bat at 7? Not likely. He's probably going to bat far higher than that.
Yeah, you could throw Curran in. We've had a lot of talk about Ravindra Jadeja, whether he can come up, and he's shown that more often than not he can be a match winner. But we'll save that discussion for the moment. But really, I think, yesterday, Joy, we talked about can we see, say, KM Asif come in? Can they be giving a chance, maybe one more chance to Monu Kumar? They probably would have had they been resigned and had their boarding passes in their hand. And that was a question we asked. That team tells you that the boarding passes are firmly probably with whoever the admin guy is.
Yeah. Well, there's a very simple thing, the analogy I have out there. What do you call a group of lions? You call them a pride, right? And, Chennai, all the lion logos and all, they play for pride. There's somebody out there who are really serious about winning.
And interesting, it's normally not a question you see anyone asking at a toss, but if anyone could, Danny Morrison could. And straight off the bat, he went and asked MS Dhoni, is this the last time we're going to see you come out to play? And unequivocally, he said, nope.
Yeah, he was absolutely clear about that. He was absolutely clear about that, I don't really care. I don't really care about anything else. I am here to play. I'm here to win. And I'm not retiring. This is not the last you've seen of me. And I liked it only because of its absolute and total unambiguity. He didn't turn and say, well, it's time there, but, I think I've decided. No. I loved it.
Yeah,
Danny Morrison was a loss of words. He didn't know where to go after that.
That's almost like his famous press conference where he invited the journalists to come and sit next to him, and typical MS style. Being a toss, I don't think he decided to give it back to Danny, but I think that answer was very clear. It's not the last we're seeing of him. And certainly all the guys in different franchises who have collected the yellow shirt, hang on to it. It'll come in value someday, but not yet. MS is still there. What about the opposition? The big question was Mayank Agarwal. Is he fit or not? He had that ankle issue. The answer is yes. Mayank Agarwal is fit. Does he walk back into the team? Of course he does. He's been the impact player from the start, and he will go straight in to open with his buddy from Bengaluru, which means that Mandeep Singh, who did so well a couple of games ago, will slot in that middle order. The other change is Jimmy Neesham coming in to sort of strengthen the batting and the bowling. That's a big call, Joy, because Glenn Maxwell has provided them 4 overs and he can be explosive. Is it safety first with Neesham?
Yeah, I think they've gone for a lot of batting, because if you look at it, they've dropped Arshdeep Singh, who was one of their death bowlers, and have gone in for batsmen. This team looks like a team who's saying, we want to put 220 on the board and try and defend it. They've just put as many batsmen. That this team bats really, really deep. It's bats to 8, and they have a lot of firepower out there. I'm not sure that's the right way to go, because Arshdeep, I think, was bowling for them as a keeper. Was bowling some great death overs for them. But just remember, it would be interesting to see where they go.
I think it's a huge call, because remember how many teams we've talked about having maybe even a 7th bowling option. Forget that, they don't even have a 6th bowling option. They're expecting 4 overs out of Jimmy Neesham, which could just play into Chennai's hands. But they've obviously taken a call. The likes of Anil Kumble, all the stalwarts in there have thought about it, and they've said, listen, we need runs on the board, and they've got a chance to do that since they're batting first, Joy.
Yeah, I think what they're also probably going to say is that we, instead of Glenn Maxwell, we'll get Deepak Hooda to bowl us a couple of overs and get some overs out of him. And given how desperate he is to win, I will not be surprised even to see Big Chris turning his arm. So let's see where that goes.
Yeah, certainly is. There are a few bowlers around there, few floaters around there who can be chuck the ball. Gurkirat, we mentioned yesterday, he was not used. Virat Kohli could have had him as an option. But yes, we've seen Deepak Hooda do it with the ball. But the question is it going to be all responsibility on Jimmy Neesham or not? But just purely from a point of view of Punjab batting first and Chennai chasing, how does that sit with all the other teams? Does that give them a better chance in terms of upsetting the apple cart and keeping Kolkata and Rajasthan alive?
I think runs versus numbers, it's one of those things. It's just that they'll find it easier to calculate, but I don't think that it's necessarily better or worse. It's just easier to calculate if somebody's putting runs on the board first. And I think we might just have more people on our panel to discuss this with us. Is that true?
We will. Not yet. We will, of course, get that full complement in. But for now, it's us who has to keep our stamina up and also talk about the boost stamina meter. And sometimes it tends to be a little batting skewed, doesn't it? But this time we've gone with a bowler. We've gone with someone who's been a workhorse. He really has been a workhorse. And you can see him at 74.5 at number 9 on this boost stamina table, Mohammad Shami. Workhorse for Team India, workhorse for the Punjab side, 79.2 the bowling rating. Look at that, 20 wickets this season. Early on in the season, you wouldn't have listed him with the likes of Jofra Archer and Jasprit Bumrah and Kagiso Rabada. But 9.8 dot balls per game. Even when he's not taking wickets, Joy, he's got heat up to 140 and he's been an impact player.
Well, I mean, just incredible player, and what an incredible performance. I mean, 9 dot balls for a bowler who bowls that much at the death is absolutely incredible. So I'm really, really amazed at the kind of stuff that he's done this year. And, everyone used to doubt the fact that is he a T20 bowler or not? And for once, he's really turned up and said, no, I am a T20 bowler. I'll give you the quality that you want. And, the word was around that he was not that interested in this format. But look at what he's done this year. It's a resounding slap to all his critics that this is it. I'm a good enough bowler to be dominant in any format. And this has been his breakthrough year in the IPL. Surprising, because he's been playing the IPL for 7-8 years, but this is his IPL breakthrough year as a bowler.
Yeah, and every time you talk about multi-formats, you seem to only come up with Jasprit Bumrah as one name. And certainly it started with the white ball, and then the adapting happened for Shami. Remember his reverse swinging spell in at the Eden Gardens. And at times like that, you would say, okay, great test match bowler, but he's adapted really well. And I think that's the key.
No, absolutely. I think not just he's adapted. What's helped him is that he wasn't really physically very fit in his 20s and now into his early 30s. Last 3-4 years, huge focus on fitness. And the guy who's now the trainer for Rajasthan, Adrian Leroux, has seen him since 2010. He really knows his body very well. So I think he's also in the best shape of his life. And being in the best shape of your life really, really helps you, because he was always had the talent. He had the seam position, he had the talent, he had the wheels. He just needed to be more careful about his fitness. He's got that now as well. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. It's not just the Punjab team who have got an all-rounder in Jimmy Neesham, who's got plenty of responsibility. We've got our own lethal all-rounder back on the show in Shaun Pollock. Shaun, welcome.
Hey guys, where you been, man? Where have you been? Sorry, technical glitches here in Durban. We've got a big rainstorm. It's been a bit of a disaster. Anyway, I'm so excited for this game. I think it's going to be amazing, and looking forward to it getting underway.
It certainly is. I'm going to just get your thoughts right at the top on Glenn Maxwell. We talked about it earlier. They've almost taken a punt. They stuck with him. And now it's a do-or-die game. They've put Maxwell aside and they're Jimmy Neesham, likely to bowl 4 overs.
Yeah, I think if we have a look at their department, they always need that extra option. And I think it's the decision that they decided to go with. I mean, Maxwell, they gave him enough opportunities, didn't they? They asked him to come good, and unfortunately not to be the case. So it's vital. And I think it's more about they thinking, let's make it, let's win this game, let's qualify, and what's the best combination for us going forward. And I think the bowling department could always do with just that little bit of strengthening.
Yeah, they certainly could. I'm going to throw one more at you, Shaun, since you've just popped in there. From the Chennai side, remember we were talking last night and I was suggesting maybe get some unheralded names. And you were the first to say, no, I don't think I'm going to see wholesale changes. And they've put out a team, including Faf du Plessis coming back, that looks like they mean business.
They do. They want to finish on a high. I mean, we're all in that same boat. It doesn't matter what's gone before us. You want to come in with that right attitude. You want to get a last final performance to remember heading into the next RPL and before you go home. So, as I said last night, no surprises there whatsoever. They want to finish with a win. And it's pride. It's pride of performance. Sometimes you can't make it any further in the tournament, but there's still a pride of performance, each individual, to go out there, put in a quality performance and show them what they're capable of.
Yeah, Joy, it's coming right back to that. The pride of Lions. It's not a coincidence that you have that collective noun, and I think that's pretty much what's coming out from MS Dhoni.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he doesn't want to go down meekly. He doesn't want to go down gently. He'll go down hard. I'm very interested in what Punjab are trying to do today, because Arshdeep Singh was their death bowler. Who is going to bowl for them at the death? Are they going to give Jimmy Neesham the ball at the death? Because even if they give Deepak Hooda a couple of overs here and there, basically it means that Shami and Chris Jordan have to bowl at the death. If Shami is bowling 2 overs at the death, you can only use him for an over, maybe up front, maybe 2. There's nothing in the middle at all. So they've got a lot of batting. They've got Mayank back, which is always good news for them. But I would have preferred Mayank to come in for, say, a Deepak Hooda and had that extra bowler in Arshdeep. I just don't understand why they need so many batsmen in this lineup.
I'm going to throw you an X factor. If only it maybe gave me a better shot at the My 11 Circle Badge of Honor. But I have a sneaky feeling Chris Gale might pull in over or 2.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, it's been a while, hasn't it? The funny thing about him is he's got that nerve, hasn't he? He's got the nerve under the situation. Nothing really flusters him. He sort of gets the ball. It's only 2 or 3 steps. He gets through his overs remarkably quickly. But you never know. That might be a good call, particularly at certain times. He's also has no issue with just bowling Yorkers. He's one of those guys who can just fire them in, 5 or 6 deliveries and back himself. So that could be the option. Maybe he could take over from what Maxwell has done.
Yep. We'll see if there are going to be any surprises up their sleeve. But for now, My 11 Circle trump card. No, it's not Christopher Henry Gale. I think 99% of you have now decided to put him in the team because he's been in imperious form. Somebody else in the opposition who's also been in good form, but not necessarily in every one of your teams, is Ruturaj Gaikwad. Started the tournament patchy in form, always had potential, one of those domestic stars, just like we saw with Devdutt Padikkal. But Ruturaj Gaikwad is one for the future, and he's shown it. 65 of 51 against RCB, 72 of 53 against Kolkata, and both very healthy strike rates. Both were situations where the team didn't need to go at 180, 190, and he did the job for them. So he should do the job for your My 11 Circle team. Stick him in there. Just as if we had a second choice for the trump card, I think, gentlemen, we would go with Ravindra Jadeja. He bowls, he bats, and wherever you give him a chance to bat, Shaun, he's delivering. Are you one of them who'd like to see Jadeja bat higher up the order?
Yeah, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I mean, he's been a shining light for them. I think his bowling struggled at the start of the tournament. I don't know if he had gone to try and bowl a little bit higher with the arm action. But as far as the batting goes, every single time he goes to the crease, he makes an impact. And I remember the one game, I'm trying to think where it was. It was in Abu Dhabi, where I think it was Jadav turned down singles to keep Jadeja off strike. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. The guy is in such form. He's a guy who goes and he backs his ability, and he's shown us what he can do. I think he's been brilliant. And for the future, maybe against the quicker bowlers, maybe that's not his place where he can cash in. But as far as delivering at the back end of the tournament and the strike rate that he's produced, it's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, it certainly has. But, he'll play a big role today because you mentioned, Joy, a couple of times that in crunch games, crunch situations, they need the big boys to stand up. They don't have a Suresh Raina in their ranks. And Dhoni will certainly look to him to say that, listen, we're not going down without a fight. You need to play a big role in this. And obviously, his first role will be with ball in hand.
Yeah, ball in hand and bat in hand as well. You see, one of the things people say is that Jadeja, bats at 6, bats at 7, not really a batsman. Jadeja plays at number 4 for his team, Saurashtra, and he has 2 first-class triple centuries. Now, whatever it is, you are a bona fide batsman. If you can score a domestic triple century, just to have the patience out there, the technique to be able to score a triple century, you are a batsman. So the fact of the matter is, you can float him up. He has enough defense. He has enough variation. to be able to bat up the order. And I think what's happened is, look at who's performed for Chennai. Either it's the young kids who have nothing to lose. I mean, people like, take a very good look at them. People like Rituraj, people like Sam Curran, not much, they're not sitting there with the burden of a lot of pressure on their heads. The other guys who have done well is people who have learned to take pressure well. Faf, Jadeja, and Raidu. I think these are the only three who have really consistently given them anything. But in fact, that means that 4 or 5 players have to carry this team, because Dhoni has probably been in the worst form of his life, and that's really what's pulled down this team. I mean, they're just not getting that explosion. Dhoni, Kedar Jadhav, none of them are giving them what they got. And Watson would give them twice a year something. Well, this year he's just giving them one. That's a problem. So it's one of those things. So tough times, I think.
What are we going to guess? What are we going to guess for the score? That's what I love to go to. I'm always looking for the badge of honor. What can we possibly go for the badge of honor? Joy, what do you reckon?
I think it's an interesting one, because Punjab is put so much into their batting, but I think they'll be tense, and I think Chris will not play the freest game that he can. I'm thinking it's a 167, 168. And I think it's going to be a middling total. 167, 167. I'll stay with 167.
Okay, I'm going 177. I like my sevens. I'm going 177. Gautam, what's your?
So thank you so much for giving me a few seconds. I had to make my last minute changes on my 11 circle team, so I just pretended I couldn't hear all of you. I needed to duck out there and make a key change. Unfortunately, I tried to get Faf in. I couldn't get Faf in, so I'm going to have to live with Nicholas Pooran instead of Faf. I've given that one away. But coming back to the score, if Pooran does contribute, they could get a big one, but I'm going low this time around. There'll be a little bit of tension in there. I'm going 150, an even 150. Probably going to be horribly wrong, but I'm sticking to 150, which means we just have one order of business, and that is the Joy factor question. Not because I'm trying to throw it to you to make more changes. The time is gone. Joy, go for it.
Okay, this is, again, the trick is in the phrasing of the question. On the Indian cricket ground, where the first ever ODI century was by a Cricbuzz panelist, and the biggest ODI partnership was between a former Indian coach and a former Hyderabad player, that means he played for the Deccan Chargers, who has taken the maximum ODI wickets on this ground? So what you have to do is figure out the ground from the earlier clues, and then figure out who's taken the maximum one-day international wickets in the ground. Obviously, the answer is a fun answer. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking you this question.
Fair enough. This one has lots of points to ponder. I just love it that we've got a Cricbuzz panelist who's got 100 to start things off, but you're looking for ODI wickets. So look for that. Keep those answers coming in. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Remember our scores. We'll reevaluate. We can't reevaluate them, but we'll certainly look where we stand in the 10th over, where we'll have a quick chat on Cricbuzz Combox, and then bring it all back with the three of us. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.